On YouTube, this is Stash with another weird vlog for you guys. Hope you like my stuff. I'm going to get back to the Qigong and another thing. My specialty, excuse me, sorry about the adjusting here. My specialty obviously is talking about weird stuff aimlessly. That I am an expert in, if anything else. Tonight my thoughts are about a guy who I've talked about in a couple of these vlogs named James Shelby Downard, the king of conspiracy theories, I guess, at least in terms of America, or the king of the strange, and the book Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. That's Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon, a mammoth book, as probably as big as Ulysses by James Joyce. I think that's one of the influences of the book, but one of many. Pynchon lumps in extremely complex ideas, and he expects the reader to try to figure them out, I suppose. I guess that's his thing, and it's bizarre. Forgive me, I can't pronounce correctly the name of the protagonist. It's Slothrop or something. Lieutenant Slothrop. And I don't want to do spoiler alert, but I guess I'll try to. I'll have to break it down, I guess, plot wise, to give you an idea. In a sense, it's World War II, and in Pynchon's theme, the world is run by basically huge companies, conglomerates. And it's an interesting mix of the occult and the intelligence agencies, and shrinks, psychologists and scientists, and synchronicities and science and the Kabbalah and esoteric magic and spells, sexuality, and whatnot. The idea where I started thinking about Downard again, and another one of these things, because a lot of my slideshow videos are weird thoughts of him, I think. Or not a lot, a bunch of them. A lot of them is just, crap I was thinking at the time. But, the idea that I connect the two of them, even though they're, it's different, everything's different, but, is Downard expressed the idea that as a child and then through his life, his family had involved him. They basically wanted to kill him in strange scenarios. He claimed to have been what's called a Cowan or something like that, which is, I guess, an anti-esoteric Freemasonry person. Natural antagonist against that group. Not the regular Mason guys, I guess, but the higher magic occult guys, or the hidden. Or allegedly. Who knows what they do unless you're in it, right? And he goes through these bizarre stories, basically confronting Thomas Edison on an island. There's a male prostitute there. These people attack him. They go, non-person, non-person. And just tale after tale is wild as hell. Like the journey of death starts in El Paso, Texas at the Kern Gate and ends on Bloody Elm Street, where Kennedy was assassinated. I believe that he says Kennedy's name means wounded head. Downard talks about the golden bough and magic and the killing of the king. Right, the king starts to get old, and he's challenged and eliminated in a right. Sometimes the king defends himself, sometimes he doesn't. And he alleges that JFK was reading a book by, I forget the name of the author, a female author, The King Must Die. Mary Renault, I think. And I've talked about that in other vlogs. But the interesting part was that Downard claims that, again, his parents were trying to whack him, kill him in a kind of a right. And he is a strong person, and he eludes it. In fact, I think as he grew up, he was a really strong guy as well, and claim to be doing battle with the unseen forces, ultimately. That the idea that there's a shadow America, and certain unseen high-level people are engaged in high magic, and they do rites such as the killing of the king and other psychodramas that influence the lower people. Now, and Thomas Pynchon is equally as complex as the real or alleged story of Downard, if not more. And he likes it. I think there's a quote by Pynchon that I like, where he's like, why should things not be complicated? You know? He has another great one that if they get you asking the wrong questions, then you're lost. And it's World War II, okay, and the protagonist, when he's basically sexually aroused, they're finding that the V-2 rockets from the Germans are hitting those areas, which is bizarre. And that's not the most bizarre part of it. He's attacked by an octopus a number of times, I believe, and there's a lot of really dark sexuality in the novel Gravity's Rainbow. I'm really rambling here. To recap, I'm combining the life, or the alleged true life story of James Shelby Downard, conspiracy author and adventurer, and Thomas Pynchon's novel Gravity's Rainbow, which is about World War II occultism and, thousands of themes in that book that you have to connect. And there's a lot of random things that happen in the book Gravity's Rainbow. And it's a mix. There's also a lot of science and, again, occultism. It's constant occultism in Gravity's Rainbow, right? So Downard talks about these unseen forces, and so does Thomas Pynchon in Gravity's Rainbow, and that's ultimately now a huge popular theme in the internet and in movies. Countless discussion of The Matrix has become a way of life in the U.S., and I think that movie, the first one anyway, resonated with the American people. Like, there's something beyond that you don't know about, and Morpheus offers him the red pill, and the alt-right people refer to this alt pill and red pill, and people say, you choose the red and you're gonna see what's really happening, and you choose the blue, you go back and be a sheep and what. Gravity's Rainbow, I think, even the randomness of it and the harshness of it probably goes a lot farther than even the Matrix film, where you get Neo, who's a powerful figure, and he does battle with the agents who look like feds who work for the man, or whatever, and he eventually comes to defend Zion and whatnot. I think they call it Zion. Gravity's Rainbow, the guy doesn't really know what the hell's going on throughout the entire novel, and he's got some hints, or he's getting an idea that his fate is under an enormous amount of control. He's resisting it, but it's hard to say if he really does. It's at times. The war is also going on at the same time. The war is a character in the film as well. It talks about Pavlovian science, and people control constantly throughout that book is a theme. The characters' lovers are a theme. The spell casting is a theme. Some of the characters Pynchon brings back in more recent novels. It's even more paranoid, I think, than Crying of Lot 49. But one of the central parts is there is people who are the elite, and there's the I'm mispronounce it, the preterists, the preterists. The preterists are people that are living in hell on earth, and they're just walking around like zombies. The elites are in the zone. In Pynchon's concepts, the people are controlled by these massive corporations, even maybe beyond the war. I think he mentions RG Fibrin, sorry, IG Fibrin. Sorry. No editing for Stosh's vlogs, by the way. Huge companies like that, they do battle, but ultimately people are like, pawns, less than pawns. They're the preterists. Or, actually, those are people who already lost they're doomed to hell, basically. They're walking on Earth, but they're living a hell on Earth. The other people in the zone, or living the good life, work for the big corporations that control everything. And again, they fight a bit, and you wonder if that's what's his reference to World War II is. Now, why Lieutenant? Why do I always forget his name? Slophead. Slope. Wait a minute. I'll put the protagonist name in the line of the nose. Forgive me. I'm coming back from karaoke. Late night Saturday karaoke. Now, again, I think that's what was part of the huge success of The Matrix. It wasn't, and the fantastic acting of Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves, and Carrie-Anne Moss. I think the Carrie-Anne Moss kick martial arts would set off that film. I often said she's the biggest martial artist of the last decades. With that kick, with her incredible body and confidence, and the 360-degree kick, whatever. Anyway, going off the point. The octopus is a theme, but not a central theme like in James Bond's Spectre or whatnot. But they're fooling around with octopuses, which are known for their intelligence, and the protagonist has to fight them, and they're studying how to use them and things like that. And one of the lovers of Lieutenant Slophead. Why can't I remember his fucking name? Wait a minute, viewers. I enjoyed this novel, and I can't remember the guy's freaking name. Anyway, yeah, his lovers, I believe more than one of them is involved in magic and things like that. They hold the key to a lot of that stuff, and sexuality is a main theme. It's definitely got some hints of Naked Lunch, Catch-22, Macbeth. Oh yeah, Macbeth might be why I'm also thinking of James Shelby Downard, because Macbeth is a theme that he brings into in his King Kill 33, either mythos or reality. Sometimes with novels that are quote unquote fictional, bring out more thoughts of what's happening in reality, because people feel safe about thinking it from a fictional standpoint, and they go, "Whoa, that's how it happens." And again, that's what I was trying to make a point of. Obviously, The Matrix, the Matrix was, again, that's why I'm bullshitting about martial arts. It was popular because of the martial arts and the flashiness, but it was really that people thought that the man is putting something over on them, right? That's the real success of The Matrix. That's the success of They Live with the late wrestler Roddy Piper. The Gravity's Rainbow is not without some characters that you know. There's some self-sacrifice. There's some love in the novel, but it also seems that it's basically the lead character is just in a constant state of paranoia, and it's not easy. It's not a paranoia that. It's not one of these novels where the paranoia is overdone. I mean, his everything is justified. It's the rainbow, the Gravity's Rainbow is basically he's trapped within it. there's no stopping. He had you wonder why Pynchon decides to always go with that theme, and how he knows so much too. And Downard, for all of his weirdness, there's some aspects that make sense to it. The late Robert Anton Wilson did mention that Downard's King Killed 33 is one of the weirdest books out there. Carnivals of Life and Death is another one that's personally about his life. That's what's connecting. The lead character in the structure of the book Gravity's Rainbow, it is said that they were experimenting on him as an infant. One gets the idea that he was imbued with something, or developed something, or was experimented on, and therefore he gets kind of psychic, or through his sexuality, and it's pinpointing the V2 rockets, which is fantastically bizarre. Everything cannot be relied upon. Reality cannot be relied upon in Gravity's Rainbow. Downard is a forceful guy. There's a lot of evil going on and a lot of unreality, but at least as he talks about in Carnivals of Life and Death, as bad as it is for him, and as many people are trying to kill the guy, you get the idea that the man can handle himself. It's Tyrone Slothrop. Slothrop. Why the hell can't I say his name? I can't even pronounce Pynchon's last name. I think it's Thomas Pynchon. But if you write this, Thomas, dude, leave me some liner notes in this. Come on. Leave me some comments. What the fuck were you talking about? Gravity's Rainbow, although it's mammoth, is worth a read. If you're a practical person that doesn't want to deal with this unreality, that book's not for you. If you're somebody who's willing to explore, both of those books are for you. Carnivals of Life and Death and Gravity's Rainbow. The paranoia strikes deep into your heart. It will creep. Fast forward to now. Paranoia is now, your typical person is confronting paranoia, or ignoring it, or embracing it in the form of the internet and the zero privacy. No doubt, that's a theme every day that actually regular people are talking about. Oh, this is crazy, and yet we're all buying it. I mean, we're on here. The internet is as weird as anything that even Pynchon has dreamed up. It's a weird combination here. I don't know if anybody's thought about it when they read, if you have read both Carnivals of Life and Death, and that's allegedly a nonfiction, and Gravity's Rainbow, give me a shout. What do you think of my crazy connection? I think there's something there in that. Downard was insistent that his parents were trying to kill him ritually. I think dress him up in a little wedding dress or something screwed up like that. And Gravity's Rainbow says that Tyrone Slothrop shit was engineered as an infant. There's hints of British intelligence in this, and shadowy groups that use unorthodox methods in warfare and espionage. Definitely, it reminds one of the Stargate program or whatnot, or the brainwashing programs, so-called MK Ultra and whatnot. The Special Operations Executive, they're talking about branches that deal with these unorthodox methods, which is really interesting. So that those shadowy, all-knowing, weird intelligence groups, of course, they're operating with these, what Pynchon's trying to get across is the world is, your fate is tied to the, knowingly or unknowingly, to the massive power of these corporations, which is a theme I think everybody sort of buying into these days, or just enjoying it. In fact, some people are embracing it, just trying to get a good deal. Some are pointing out that there's an overabundance of control. The Gravity's Rainbow, again, as I mentioned, is a culmination of a bunch of other works like Ulysses, Macbeth, a little bit, and others. But his strange ability to, when he has a like a sexual conquest or what have you, seems to be able to psychically anticipate the V2 rocket strikes by the Nazis in World War II. There's also an interesting character that is contacting another character that's dead, I believe. So they're engaging in actual necromancy, which is bizarre. So he doesn't seem to leave too many boundaries about his weirdness, and he's not afraid to use a lot of sources. It looks like, which is interesting. It's a juxtaposition of a lot of art and a lot of occultism, a lot of sexuality. There's some really over-the-top sexuality in Gravity's Rainbow, and there is some in Carnivals and Life and Death, dealing with the great horror Babylon. And there's a audio tape of Downard where he talks about this baby black market, which is really bizarre, and Kit Kat houses. He talks about whorehouses. This assassination of the three kings: Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, RFK, the three kings. Is it connected to magic from the Golden Bough, the killing of the king? Do the elites engage in these things? What does Washington, D.C. look like? It's loaded with occult symbolism. There's zodiacs everywhere in D.C. and in New York. There's a magnificent one at the train station right on the ceiling. There's a lot in, I think there's a lot in Philly and Boston and other locations. And there's, areas where they seem to be mapped out for their energy, and people talk about it, ley lines, and, obviously when you go to Times Square, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of chi. Where am I getting about that? I don't know. I mean, what I mean is, there are hints that these things exist, and are they tapped into, are utilized by higher unseen forces, elites, that the peons don't know about? Sure could be. Let me know what you think about my bizarre ideas of the protagonist and the similarities between partially his life and James Shelby Downard in terms of their youth, of their infancy. What did they do with Tyrone that led him to be used as a pawn or used as a weapon, basically, or for intelligence? Synchronicities and things like that. Totally recommend both those books. I'll leave the names in the liner notes of things I've referenced. Hope any of this was of any interest to you, and hope you're doing good. This has been Stosh. As I promised, these vlogs were going to get weirder. I've only just begun to get weird. Edit that out. Alright, Gravity's Rainbow, Carnivals Life and Death, King Kill 33. Am I onto something? I was talking to a guy on one of my other videos about Crowley and his adventures in the desert. Making contact with Chorazon. Chorazon? Oh, God, I can't pronounce anything tonight. Promise I'll vlog on that weird thing. My brother. Glad I got a couple of fans looking at these vlogs. Alright, again, have a good rest of the weekend. If you're over in the Carolinas, I hope you survived that huge storm, Florence. Take care, Stosh Vloggers. I have a few more fans, too. Tell me if any of this is connecting with you. Alright, have a great one.